had started the conversation before everybody got here, it's more about just getting started. I have
Absolutely.
started so many podcasts on my own just because I'm like, I'm just going to do it because I don't have time to, figure it out or have somebody else teach me right now. And it's worked out for me, right? And then some of the content and some of it, I do try to get people to help me because then I know it's going to be better quality.
Who's tried to start one? And if you failed it, it's okay. If you
Yeah.
fail at it, it's okay. Okay, cool, cool.
And then partnerships, right? I've started podcasts with other people and it has not worked. So a lot of that for me is trial and error and just jumping in. I am okay with just getting started and doing things.
When
So.
you started, what was something that you realized and that was a positive, and one that might have not a negative per se, but like a little obstacle that you ran into?
Well, I started with like four of my friends, or whatever. And one thing that we do, we're on Anchor, so it's a gift and a curse because you don't have to be in the same room. You can be on a video call,
Yes.
on a call for about an hour, and when the hour is up, that's when the podcast is over. So we pretty much running through everything, and it's like I'm like, well, I feel we could do that if we're in control. Like when I found the studio, because
Yeah.
I'm an artist as well.
Yeah.
So I come here and I record.
Nice.
And when I'm like, I do podcast studio too.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
usually the
like-
surprise here, because when I'm setting up in here,
Yeah.
I'll hear like some of the DJ friends or someone that's like rapping in one of the rooms just kind of walk by and like peek in here and like, what's going on over here? I'm like, you didn't know about this? Or like, no. So it's where I'm trying to do more like workshops, just so that people even know that this exists.
Yeah.
Because to her point, like myself is like really trying to kind of brand develop myself, and just not even that, just being someone that can be a go-to for resources and just helping people out. I just like to do that, just because if I feel like if I help someone out, they're gonna help me out in some kind of way. And so I was trying to do it in a way where if you're an artist and you're already working on your music, why not have another room that you can kind of build your other side of your promoting your single? Like, what made you decide to make up this song, and just another avenue for you to create and add to your music. So that was one thing that I'm trying to really emphasize here for artists that are already recording here is why don't you actually just come in this room? Let us
And
know
talk about
what's your
it.
album? What's your album art? You got a music video? Let's talk about it. You know, what made you decide to write those lyrics and kind of just add to what you're already doing on there?
And also, me wanting to start my podcast with my friends or whatever, also is like, as a local artist, as a coming up artist, or what I like to call it, it's not easy when you can't get nobody to listen to you. And you're like, okay, well, everybody got all these different platforms. Let me get my own platform, promote myself on this platform. That
Agreed.
way, like some way, somewhere is getting out. And it's like, okay, well, let me also be a voice for another local artist that doesn't have that sound or doesn't have that platform.
Absolutely. I
And
agree.
it's part of the branding and
Mhm.
your strategy, right? Is like you build your own platform if it's not something that's already out there, and it helps promote whatever it is you're doing. Okay, are we just? You want me to ask my questions?
Go for it. I'm game. I
I
think
didn't
everybody's.
I didn't plan it like this.
We're gonna
and then I
kinda
got here. I was like,
freestyle it.
oh, duh,
Yeah.
this is a podcast.
So for
Okay.
those that are watching us on stream,
Yes.
this is Barracks. I keep saying it. Don't think it's a jail cell. You'll know if you're trying to be over here. But we also have people live in here too. So if you hear someone talking that you don't see on screen, it's because we have guests in here. I'm not gonna make you woo and do applause on the screen, anything like that. But again, if you have any questions on anything, like feel free to ask. I know she has like a set of questions, and we're just gonna kickstart it.
Yeah.
With that,
Okay.
go for it.
So we talked about. Well, I talk a lot about podcasts, and then you said that yours is on YouTube. And so initially, when I started my podcast, it wasn't video; it was just audio. So for me, when I think about podcasts, I think about just the audio version of it. And now it's kind of expanded to the video side. So that was my first thing was like, what is truly a podcast? And for me, when I think about it, I don't ever think about video. Like I'm that old and that old school where I'm just like, so that's why I asked you, are you not pulling the audio? Because that's to me is like the true podcast, right? Is just the audio. Once you start pulling the videos or creating the video content, I think definitely it elevates it. It sets it onto another platform where you can promote it and push it. And so when you work with other people, is it something that they don't understand. Like they call their YouTube a podcast, but is it really a podcast?
Some do. I think it's because now it's more commonplace
Right.
that it's video aside from the
Mhm.
audio. A good example of one where some people feel like it's mandatory to do video,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have to do
You
that.
don't have to do
One
it.
in particular that doesn't do it, they just literally put a picture on the screen, is Bill Burr. He does the Monday morning podcast, and it's just a picture of him. There's like no video at all.
Right.
To where his major factor is just making sure his audio is good. So even when I was starting my YouTube videos, I think the comment section can be very entertaining
Mhm.
and at sometimes depressing if you really look at it a certain way. But it's where people will give you enough slack if your audio is good.
Mhm.
Where if your video's not, I'm gonna say 22,000K, but your audio is pristine and it sounds clear,
Mhm.
people will give you a chance on there. It's when the audio is bad
Yeah.
to your video, that's where there's an issue. So I always try to recommend, if you're gonna do anything, is to get your audio on point. But that doesn't mean you need to spend $500 on a mic. You don't
Right.
need a Shure SM7B for the tech mic nerds out there. You don't need that. You just need something clean to record. You can get stuff for like $80 on there. There's
Or
company-
less.
Or
I've
less,
done-
even
yeah.
less. You
And
can
I
get little
use my
lapels.
I
yeah.
use my phone. And Gonz knows, like, and mine for the
Yeah,
most
that
part
gives me a little
sounds.
cringes.
I know, but mine for the most part, if you listen to it, it sounds really good.
If you're at
If
a
you
good
have a
distance,
good enough phone.
Yeah, if you have enough a good distance, I will say this: if anyone asks you to do any type of recording, and you're in a pinch, and you're like, "Oh, I need to record something so I can send it to someone," where would you think the worst place to record something would be at your house? If you had to guess, nailed it. That is the
Echo.
worst place. Why? Yes. Where do you think an optimal place is at?
Closet.
Why?
You got so many clothes around. So
Y'all are nailing it.
I used to do mine in my car. I used to do.
That's what's up.
I used to do mine in my car.
Yeah.
My first
Yeah.
few podcasts were in my car.
Reason being is because you have so many fabric and so many clothing articles that absorb the clothing.
It's like insulated.
Insulated. So if like we have like in here, if all we had was this bare floor only, it would sound terrible in here. If it was all concrete, terrible, and no one can hear you scream or make a phone call. One of the three. So if you have like
Then it's really
if you
a
have a
jail.
super messy closet, it's even better. You just like get in the corner of your jackets and then say your like voiceover or anything like that. So if you're in a pinch, you're like, hey, where's like the messiest closet I have in my house, and record there.
I'm gonna go visit my brother.
There you go. And they're like, yo, you're recording so clean. What studio do you go to? Oh, I go to my brother's closet. So
Yeah,
so on that side, I would definitely recommend a busy closet.
That's always my biggest thing when because I started my podcast and doing this so long ago, I don't ever think about the video side. I always think about the audio, and that's like to me the most important part.
Agreed.
But definitely, like I said, now in order for you to elevate it and bring it to a lot more audiences, then you definitely want to capture that video. I love TikTok. Like that's my favorite place to like watch video more than Instagram. Like on Instagram, I'll do stories and stuff, but I don't ever go on like the reels or any of that. My biggest place is definitely TikTok.
What's up?
Hi. Is definitely TikTok for the video. And on there, the video, of course, is very important, plus the audio.
Yes.
So, yeah. Definitely
Sure.
for me, it's audio over video.
Careful with your Drake stuff because they're gonna try to kick you off on it. On there.
Oh.
I'm just
But are they?
well, what it is right
Or they're
now
just
is
removing the sound?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
removing it. So if you want to add anything from UMG, Universal Music Group, good luck right
Yeah.
now. But it might change. You never know.
But yeah, I think it's
That's
the
that
more
label, man. That's the
common
label
sound.
stuff.
Like the more, the ones that are used the most are the ones that were removed first, I feel. Okay.
Now,
Go ahead.
to expand on that, has anyone tried to do a podcast with video? If you haven't and you were kind of curious about it, or if you did attempt it and you felt like it didn't quite look good, did anyone run into something like that?
I do the video,
Okay.
and I started listening to podcasts because of YouTube, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So it's like that's how it's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And then, my first attempt at doing podcasts, the audio was good on Spotify,
Mm-hmm.
but we were using the audio from the camera, so that
Yes.
wasn't that good. But then now with this new podcast that I have, he's helping me out. So what we use now is we get the audio from the SD card, and then we delete the audio from the camera,
Yes.
and then we do a certain technique, whatever, so we can match up the sound waves.
Call it like
to
the
make sure
kind of
that
the
we're
clapping
on.
method.
The
Yeah.
clapping.
Yeah.
So I finally figured that out. 'Cause I was like, oh, once I realized that, I was like, oh, so that's why they do that in movies,
Yeah.
where they're like, oh, super awesome movie, action, so that they sync up that loud peak of noise and line it together.
And that's what
Okay.
Elias is really great
Yeah.
at, you know. So I learned from him, and then
That's awesome.
So we put it together. So the sound quality you got, if you listen to the YouTube one, it's the same audio
Mhm.
on the Spotify as well.
Yeah.
So I deleted the microphone from the camera.
Yeah,
I've
because
used-
especially if you have something. So, as an example, for a lot of these like DSLR cameras, they don't put a lot of emphasis on the audio because they're trying to make sure that the image quality is great. So, even with your phone, if you have your phone far away and you try to pick up your voice, it sounds terrible. The closer you get, the more you can kind of pass it by. If you're really close, that's optimal on your phone. There's a lot of like different kind of like wireless mics that you can clip to yourself, and then you can have the phone pretty far away. Like with that one, there's a boom, like a small like shotgun mic to that to try to pick up the level as well. But to your point, you're trying to get super clean audio. So when I've done podcasts in here, I'm gonna try to move this here. You can kind of see this screen here. So right now I'm using this camera, this Sony camera right here for this shot, but I'm just gonna switch it over, and I'm going to move this there. So now we got a webcam. This thing's like $60 now. So
And that picks up audio?
so
No.
it'll pick it up, but it's to the same point where it won't sound as great. So I'm running this roadcaster. This is where the hub of all my audio is running into. So to your point about an SD card, there's an SD card slot right here.
Okay.
So there's a simple record button here that I might as well just do now. Record. And it's going to record all my channels here. It does have a little extra features where, like, say you had your introduction music. Play, hey, welcome everybody to the show. Da, 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 da. Now whatever you want. With that, you can take phone calls as well. It'll take a Bluetooth connection, and you can. Oh, here's everyone. Here's all the guests here. Woo, what's up? So if you have a guest and they can't make it, they're in another city or whatever, you could take a phone call, and they'll hear everything just as clean. And then once you're done, stop recording, pull the SD card out, and then you can put it into whatever video editor you want to use from there. It's a little bit more of a investment on these. You're looking around maybe $400 to $600, depending on what kind of mics you're getting. So it's a little bit of an investment on that side. So that's why some will just kind of book a room and let me handle it on that. But so yeah, but it's where if you were to buy things, you're gonna start running into where you're gonna start getting things in components, and you're like, man, this is starting to add up, and it's things that I'm gonna start kind of missing. Like, oh, I forgot I need this. I'm sure you guys ran into that. Like, oh, now I need this cable. Oh, now I need this kind of SD card. Oh, I need to pay for that subscription to this editor or to this or to this. That's kind of the little stumbling blocks that can happen, but you just got to keep chipping away at it from there. So.
And I've also used Zoom. So during
Yes.
COVID, because I was doing all of my podcasting online, nobody wanted to meet up with me anymore. So I started doing all my calls on Zoom, and it actually records both your video and your audio. And like I said, I'm not techie at all, so that was like the easiest thing for me to just pull the audio and upload it to my Anchor account or
What's up, what's
podcast
up?
account. So that was like a little hack that I found on my side for the audio, was to use Zoom and just pull both the audio and the video from there. And that was like my favorite way to do it because it was super easy. I didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
all the extra equipment or anything. And the quality of it was really
Yeah,
good.
I will say as far as with the gear, that can be like more of the pain in the ass, is because you're like, damn, it took me like 2 hours to set all this up. Now I got to break it down, and I got to waste another 2 hours to set this up. So the goal is always the quicker you can streamline everything, where you're like, okay, I'm always using these 4 cables. Let me actually group them together, label them. If I can already have them pre-connected, I'm good. Because if you have stuff already ready to go, you're going to want to already just hit record and get going. Not like, damn, 3 hours, then I have fun. Because then after that, you're like, oh, you kind of lost all your steam from there. So as the goal is to try to streamline everything as quick as possible, however the degree of difficulty it is. Because I'm sure you might have ran into that. You're like, oh, how can I make this easier and easier so that I can always just be creative and just hit record and get going from there. Questions?
I know. I was going to say, does anybody have any questions so far?
Have y'all started a podcast?
Comments?
Not yet? Okay. Okay. What was it about? Okay, cool. I like that. I like the random ones. They're always interesting. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions. Again, tech side,
Yes.
branding side, anything.
Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about are editing software or
Yes.
editing apps that you might use. You introduced me to the one. What is the one with the clips?
So there's one called Opus Clips.
Opus,
Yeah,
that's the one I use.
Let me see if I can bring this up.
That one makes a lot of things easier. So if you're doing the video,
Have
And
you heard about that Opus Clips?
so if you're doing the video side and you want to do those little clips from like the Reels or TikTok where they have like the words and all the like fun stuff, that does it automatically for you. It's AI driven, so
Yeah, let me pull
it's really
this up
cool.
on
And
here.
Gon showed me that, and I uploaded one of my videos, several, and it chops it up for you. You do have to do a little editing when it comes to like the start and end of the video, but it's not super hard. It did a really good job. Like
Yeah,
the
so
ones
let me
that I
fix it
did,
real quick.
it was really good, and the content that it pulled was actually like good clips that I wanted to share. So, but it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and feel free to take pictures on it or put it in notes. So this one's called Opus Clips. So what it'll do is it'll take your video, and say you had an hour of whatever content you had. What it'll do, it'll try to kind of pick out what it thinks it's the most useful that it can condense down to a minute, and it'll caption it for you. It'll set it to vertical format so it's ready to go. But it also give you like a scorecard as to why it decided to create that clip in specific. I think they still do. They'll do 10 clips.
Yeah,
So
for free.
what I've noticed on this one is if you have like multiple camera angles, it helps even more because it'll try to pick the more important part, and if it's to this camera angle, they'll add it in there. But even if you just did one shot, if it's an engaging piece of material, it'll keep that for that section and then caption it for you and everything. So all you literally do is download that, and then you can just post that, and you're good. It does all the heavy lifting for you.
It splits the screen, so if you're sitting next to
Yeah.
each other, it splits.
Oh yeah,
It does
yep,
that.
It'll do that.
Yeah, so
So like, cause like
It's
trying to
really
edit like
easy.
that, trying to editing like that sucks.
takes a lot.
Because you have to really just split the videos. Then hopefully you have like a certain version of an editor that lets you create a caption, then put the caption there, and then you're deciding, oh, it's not the right text. If you're not familiar how to upload your own fonts, you're like, okay, so you can kind of struggle
Yeah.
at first. So it's a super helpful tool to take that long piece of video and utilize it even more. Because sometimes after recording, you're like, now I got to do all this crap now? Like, oh, now I got to make 10, 20 things.
Yeah,
I'm like,
unless
I'm
I
like-
do it on
I'm
my
like that.
phone and it's like already small bits that I did by myself, I won't do anything else to the video because it's not what I do. So unless somebody else is doing it for me.
Yeah, so Opus Clips, super,
Opus Clips,
super,
yes.
super handy.
So what other editing? Tools
as far
or-
there's one called CapCut.
Oh,
I don't know if
CapCut is
everyone's
good.
familiar with CapCut, so I'll put this on
And
here too.
CapCut is really good. That's one that they use on TikTok a lot.
what's up,
Like
Cap?
all of your kind of edited stuff on TikTok comes from CapCut. So that's a really good one to kind of learn. And it's really easy. I don't use anything that's difficult because I'm not good at it.
which is good. Yeah, you definitely want to have a crazy learning curve
Yeah.
on it. So let's see here.
And it has templates already
And it has a lot of
made.
templates. So
Yeah.
if you're just trying to just get something going, it's super helpful. Like I'll actually use this for certain live streams that I'll do. Let me see if I have a history on here. Somewhere here in templates. Oh, recent drafts.
I've never done it on my computer. I only do it on my phone.
And so what I like about it is where, especially on certain templates where they're like photo montages, like as long as you upload the photos, it'll like try to piece everything together for you. So as far as saving you time on the editing and trying to get an idea going, super helpful. That's where I suck at. Like I cannot make templates to save my life. So I'm like, but if I find one and I know how to customize it, that's better for me. But at least it gives me the starting point of what I'm going with.
Yeah, templates are my best friend.
Who's used CapCut before? It's totally free too, by the way. Like you can
And Opus Clips also.
Yeah, and Opus Clips also. Now they're always gonna, just how it is now.
Right.
Where like, hey, well, for $10
You can
more,
upgrade.
you can get, you can get a little something on here.
And they're apps on your phone. Like you can download and it's on your phone. It doesn't have to be on your desktop.
What are some tools you guys have used for like editing your videos from your phone? Have you used that or gone that route? No. Okay. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend CapCut to start off because it's really simple. I thought it would be a daunting task, but my friend put me on, and I'm like, yo, this is like super easy. And you can do it all on your phone, so you can shoot with your camera, straight from your phone, find a template, and do it all within there. Because some people are like, man, I don't want to have to grab this and take it to my computer, edit in there, export that, then airdrop it back to myself, then put it on IG. That's where more times than not, people are like, man, F this. I don't want to do this anymore.
It's too hard, yeah.
On there. So, so the simple, the better on there. So if I had to recommend anything for someone just starting out, that CapCut is definitely
one
I would recommend.
One. It is.
Editor-wise, right now I use DaVinci Resolve to edit. It's free, and it's like a legit free. It's not like...
What are you editing with that?
So I'll do a lot of my YouTube videos.
Okay.
I'll edit in there. One that I do use as well that's only online is called Capwing.
Okay.
Is this one here.
So when it comes to podcasting,
Yes.
so my podcasts are all on what is now Podcasters through Spotify, which I think was Anchor before, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't do any like heavy editing outside of that app. Like I just go into the app and my intro is in there, my content, and then I close it out. So I don't do any other editing outside of that.
I tried different stuff.
I know. That's what I'm asking you.
So what I'll do is like...
And that's on audio.
Gotcha.
That's just the audio.
So on the video side, I'll tend to use this one here because it just is a bit easier for myself. As an example, I'll put this on here. So I just took the video clip that I had, put it on my desktop, imported it into here, and it does the text. I just place everything. It makes it super simple to get an idea going. Let me just start something super fresh on here. The way I learned about this site was I was looking for something that would convert my video from a certain aspect ratio. So I had something that was a 16:9 that you'd use for YouTube. But I was like, damn, when I try to put it on like a reel, it's cutting off everything. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it right. So with this one, it gave me the ability to like already kind of start with what version I'm going for, or you can upload a video and it'll resize it for you. So say I'm going with an Instagram post, then I would go to, let's see here, and kind of start off with kind of like a background image.
Is this only on desktop?
You can use it on your phone as well too.
But is it an app?
Yeah, they have it as an app as well. I just learned on the desktop version of it and just kind of stuck with it. So same way as with CapCut, you can pick different, stuff on here. So I guess if you want that for like a Discord, like it already has it there, you just double click, change the name, blah, 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 export it, and you're done for the most. And on the pro version, you can upload a bunch of your own photos, videos, and implement that as well. So that's another online. What I liked about this one is it does transcription. So for your audio, if you wanted to actually have the words popping up, I know everything's AI and Terminator robots and stuff. It'll kind of spit out a transcript of your video and give you font animation style where you don't have to go in
And make those
physically
changes.
do it. There is another one that I use. I'm gonna take you down rabbit holes. Yes.
What was the name of this?
This one's called a Capwing, so K-A-P. Yeah, Capwing. They say Capwing. That sounds childish to me, so I'm going to stick with Capwing on there. There was one where I was sick for like a week. Not recently, but I was having a hard time like talking to a mic or anything. And there's another site that will do like voiceover for you. Like you type out what you want it to say and then lay out over a video. It's called Murph is the name of it. Yeah. It sounds dirty, but it's not. So, of course. it's gonna be
That's
like
pretty cool, though.
that. What's it? Is it Murph on there? It was like a transcription on there. I think my link's off on there. I'll jump back to that one. Who knows
Okay.
Canva? Are you familiar with Canva? Okay. Anyone had issues using Canva?
I'm more PixArt. PixArt helps me out a little bit
Okay.
more, but I guess I'm just used to it.
If you're needing, so I'll just kind of, I don't want to skip ahead. Sometimes I'll just keep rolling. My apologies. My brain starts going like crazy. What I like that they implemented now, like, is like adding videos to
I
things.
haven't tried that.
So I kind of made a kind of branding thing. So I just put the Barracks site in front. It already had a video, and I just aligned the image over their video. And then once you export it, it puts it back to higher quality. So anytime you introduce a video that's really high quality and then you see it kind of having these little pixels here, they try to what they call downscale it so that you can edit it. So it's 'cause sometimes if you're in Steven Spielberg mode and you have some 4K film and you put it into an editor, it takes forever for it to load up. So you'll hear a word called proxies where they make it where it's a more like an old school kind of pixelation, but now you can really edit your video a bit easier. So some people are like, "Oh man, this video looks like crap." I'm like, "Bro, just wait till you export and you're good.
It
You'll be
fixes it.
you'll be solid." What I like on their end is like they have templates for everything. So I used it to actually create a new resume.
Yeah.
I just used their template
Yeah.
from there. And if you're needing videos, because sometimes what will happen is if you're putting videos on YouTube, you might get the whole flagging police, is what I call it. So, if you have an image of like Future rapping on something, they're going to pull it quickly. Unless you resize and do some things. If you're needing like stock images or videos, there is a website. It's called Pexels. So they'll have really high quality photos. So for example, let's say, what's like some background kind of photo or videos you're looking for? Flowers. Okay,
Flowers.
perfect. Let's go with that. So say we did flowers here. So you can download it royalty free. They'll give you a little like, hey, if you want to donate to me, give me $1 or whatever you can. But you can have high quality images. You won't get anything flagged for it because they put it up there, as well as video. So if you're just trying to add some type of just little flavor to your post and you just want to kind of have like a backing video, like some will do the whole here's a mountain and here's my quote of the day. Instead of just having the text, you have a little bit of a little style to it. So let's see here. We go to videos.
So
It's
you
not
can
to knock.
do
It's not to knock
that.
anybody who
So
does mountain videos.
You can do an image and add audio to it, right?
Yes.
Can you do that in CapCut?
As far as putting audio to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like to an image?
yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
You just have to make sure, like with that one, that it's a certain file, like an MP3.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if MP3 will work with any
Right.
program, so it'll give you like a preview of how it'll look from there, and then you can download that. Say, put it in CapCut, put it in Canva, put your selling flowers at the flower shop, $5.99. Add your music on the back end, and you're good. You have your own little promo there. Totally free. No one's gonna call you like, hey, you used my flower pics, bro. I need my thousands of dollars. No, like totally free on here. I tend to use this quite a bit if I just need to find a visual that matches like what I'm doing. So yeah, anyone heard of this site before? Okay, cool. So yeah, trying to drop gems today. Trying to help out because it could be tough because like if you get stuck because there's a resource that you're lacking, that's where you usually get the frustration comes in because you're like, oh man, I can't find this like flower that I want. Or you can use AI to try to conjure something up. I know that might be coming up on your topics there.
No, I'm trying to think on the text, and I know we went like super heavy on the
I know
text side.
I do that. I'm sorry. If
That's
anything's
gone.
over your head, like please stop me. Like I tend to like go in a lot of tangents.
And
so-
also for me, the biggest thing is, and I said at the beginning, like I just dive into things, right? So I don't know everything that he knows. So
vice versa. Yeah.
I've not done it the way he's saying to do it, right? Like all the tech stuff and buying all the equipment doesn't necessarily have to start that way, right? Like you could totally start on your phone
Yes.
and just kind of build from there, right? As you learn, as long as you get started, right? So definitely if it feels overwhelming, then, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
That's
it's
'cause
supposed to be
Gon's
like
knows.
that because you've never even heard of that tech. So
Yeah.
if I bring up something you had no idea about, I don't expect you to know it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know when I heard.
Well, I didn't know a lot of the ones that you
I was gonna
mentioned
say,
today.
as far as like for musicians, because I see this happen a lot of times with like DJs in particular when they're trying to like record their set or any DJs in the building. Perfect, cool. So same here. When you try to do the whole recording off your phone, but it's kind of far away, that audio is what, right? It's trash, exactly. And for us, audio is super important. So there's tools like, I don't know if you've ever seen this before. It's called iRig Stream. So if you play guitar or if you're doing any like a talking head thing, like your phone's right here, basically you can connect like for this kind of thing. If you're a musician, if you have a little mixing board, you would just connect RCAs to the bottom. This top end would go to your phone. I'll put it on camera here too. This would go to your phone, iPhone, USB-C, and you'll get a cleaner signal through your phone. So if you're out playing at a bar or club or whatnot, instead of hearing the boom, boom, like sound, reverby sound from the club, you can put a direct feed to your DJ mixer into here, and you get a much cleaner signal. And it'll let you know if you're being super loud. You can get these maybe about $80 now. They used to cost a bit more during the COVID times because everybody and their mama was streaming with these things. But super helpful. Again, you don't have to spend $1,000 for things, but the goal is you have to get clean audio somehow.
Yeah.
That's always vital on that.
Yeah,
So,
especially if
better
you're
thing.
only doing audio,
Yes.
because you want that to count.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how many people said they've already started a podcast or have tried to? Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So for
awesome.
everybody else, do you have an idea? And I know you have an idea. Do you have an idea of the type of podcast that you want to start? No? Nobody? What kind of podcast do you want to start?
Several.
Okay.
If you had to name one.
Yeah.
Okay. One I thought was kind of funny is like I see a lot of crazy things when I'm in the car line picking up my kids from school.
Okay.
So I wanted to. That was my idea. To like name it in the car line and like.
In the car line. Okay. Okay. I know. We're gonna try to get you an extra chair somewhere. It's a little packed house over here. How you been? I know. How you been? I know.
But they made a spot for you
Yeah.
over there in that little corner.
I know. We did a little extra marketing on this.
So the carpooling, that's a really good one. I write out my carpool conversations with my kids on Facebook. Oh, you see them? And so that would be a really cool one. So definitely for me, getting started was more about the idea. So my very first podcast that I started on my own is called 51st Dates Houston. And it came from a coffee date with this guy who said that he had so much to say that he wanted to start a podcast with me.
Didn't say much.
And then he ghosted me, right? So then I went home and I was like, forget him. I'm going to start this podcast on my own. And literally I had written out like what the name was and what our like first like 5 episodes were going to be as I drove home from my date with him. And I had the ideas there. I was like, oh my God, like I'm just going to do it myself. And I did. I started it, 51st Dates. And I interview other people on their first dates, about their first dates. So we talk about dating. So for me, again, it came from an idea that I was like, whatever, I was upset. So, and it worked. And it happened during COVID. So my podcast got streamed immediately a lot. And so it got really popular, and I immediately had so many people that were ready for me to interview them. So that podcast did really, really well. And it grew really, really fast, and I interviewed almost 40 people within a few months. My other podcast is called Taking Back Your Power, where I was going to talk about my divorce process and how I took back my power in that instance. And it hasn't been as big or as popular. It was popular, but it didn't grow as fast because I felt like I had to think about the content a little bit more because it was a lot more. I mean, not that dating isn't personal, but it was more fun, right? And so for me, taking back your power was going to be a little bit more. I had to think about it a lot more and make sure that the people that were coming on were comfortable sharing their stories and sharing with me. And it was just more. I had a bigger purpose and intent with that one. So for me, I think if you think it's like a good idea and you want to try it, you
Go for
should.
it. Go for it.
Because something like that, the carpool stuff with your kids, like that would probably be a really good one that a lot of moms would probably relate to. Did anybody else have an idea for their podcast yet?
Idea, but it's not very original or anything. I'd like
Okay.
to do some comments on current events, and then sometimes take it in the street and do some interviews, and hold that in once in a while. Eventually, I'd like to get people to come in and sit down and
Yeah.
talk for extended sessions. But
I think you should do it
that
even
might take a while.
to your point as far as like it's not completely original, but it could be where it's your personality type
Yeah.
that is the original of that.
Well, that's what it'll all hang on.
Yeah.
Because I think of anything interesting to say.
There you go.
You know,
It's like with the randomness on you, it's your style, who you relate to. So if it's something where like, you know, I want to talk about like one of the past workshops they wanted to do boxing, then we had one about a restaurant. They're like, well, everyone else talks about boxing. I'm like, yeah, but maybe not how you talk about it.
And you can always put a different spin on it, right? Like you
Absolutely.
can add something to it that's going to make it different. Like maybe it's boxing and you're focusing on women in boxing, right? Like the group that I run is only Latina women, right? So for me, a lot of things that I do revolve around Latina women. And so whatever I think about is specific to that. But yeah, you put your own spin on it and it makes it unique to you. And even though you might not think it's original, there's got to be something that is there that's yours and that is original. So yeah, no,
Hey, it's worth a
definitely.
shot. Go for it, man. Go
Yeah.
for it. Anybody else trying to, you know?
No,
get
nobody.
something- Yeah. What was one of them?
The one was with him.
Yeah.
Random. The other one was the struggles of being in the youth.
I'm like, did we bring it?
I feel you.
I did tech house, produce music
Yeah.
and everything like that.
You and I got to talk.
So it's like the struggles of
Yeah.
being like alone when you touring around, like the loneliness.
Yep.
Like nobody to talk to. Everybody got a work life, but Saturdays and Sundays, you know, we out working. So.
I feel you 100% on that.
Yeah.
I relate to that big time. And to that point, it's something where maybe some people don't understand that, but I definitely understand that. And getting an outside perspective and a perspective within the same group, you kind of shed light on that particular thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Like if you got something to say, and you know, just know you're not going to please everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say
one thing
you're
that
gonna
I've
have
had
a
to come
niche,
to
right?
learn.
You're gonna have a
I've
specific
had
audience.
to learn that. Not everyone's going to like
Yeah.
your stuff. Even with the music that I produce, I had to go in being like, someone's going to tell me, Gons, your music sucks, bro. But I also had to put in my mind like, oh, someone's going to say, hey, I like your stuff. And that's
Yeah.
okay. But we really harp in like, oh, I don't like your podcast. What? Why? Like, whoa, it's not
It's
me.
not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
That's not me.
Yeah.
I don't, my bad. Like, don't kill me, man.
I recently got butchered on Facebook for not liking Taylor Swift, and I'm okay with that. And I even took it to TikTok. I was like, I really don't care. So yeah, it's not, your content is not going to be for everybody, and that's okay, right? Like if you have a specific niche and a specific audience that you want to gain, then that's who you'll gain, right? It doesn't have to be for everybody.
Yeah, because for myself, I do not technically a podcast, but I'll do a lot of live streaming for particular music production software. And it was where seeing when you first start and then comparing everybody else, you're like, man, million followers or million subscribers. I only got 2, bro. And that was like my mom. My mom and my dad. But it's where eventually I was like, okay, I saw 500. Now I have 1,000. Now I have 1,500. I would say the biggest thing with that is if you're say you're starting a YouTube channel or you're live streaming with that, whoever is actually on your platform and engaging with you, comment back, hit them up. Thank you for listening to my podcast. So like when I do my production tutorials, when I make a video, I try to respond to every single comment. You know, some of them you're like, okay, that was a spam bot. I won't talk to that person. But it'll be where they're like, oh, really liked your video, or because sometimes you'll get ideas from it. Like your own viewer base will tell you what a good video idea is. Because sometimes we'll get stuck. We're like, okay, I don't know what.
Or more content.
Or more content.
Yeah.
Because I'll do a video that's talking about, oh, how do I line up an acapella with my beat? because that was a struggle for some producers. But because I DJ, I was able to make an easy video. And they're like, "Oh, great video. Can you do something on mixing? Can you do something on, oh, where did you find cool drum sounds? Because I don't know where to get cool drum sounds." So it was giving me newer ideas. And then I'll hit them up like, "Hey, I really like you commenting on it. Is there anything else that maybe I haven't shed light on?" And I'll literally just put it on a spreadsheet, or I'll write it down like, "Oh, next topics I can talk about. This, 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 and this." So once you start getting a little traction and you start getting like comments or responses, hit them up. Like, "Hey, what didn't you like about it? What did you like about it?" They're like, "Oh, I couldn't quite hear you with this." So you're like, "Oh, I got to fix my audio. Let me get this game planned out." Constructive criticism, Yes.
Okay. So that sort of sounds like YouTube, but maybe it sounds like most of them.
Mhm.
How many different things do you publish on?
Typically for me, I'll do YouTube primarily, and then I'll use Instagram for me. I've been slowly, with her persistence, like doing TikTok more. But for myself, because I do a lot more music production tutorials, and for me, YouTube is like a search engine that I see that it's more catered to that. Because usually we'll hear the term, "Oh, YouTube University." So I'm like, all right, you're already having the learning aspect there. And so for myself, for the particular production software that I use, they didn't have a big market for it. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I start making videos on it? They sucked when I first did them, because I remember to this day, one comment was like, "Bro, your audio sucks, homie." Like that. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. And then I was like, okay, cool. I need to figure this out. So I went through YouTube and started like, how can I screen record better? How can I get my audio to sound cleaner? How can I actually script out a little bit better? Now when ChatGPT came out, that's a crazy thing. I'll definitely go over that.
Yeah.
I like how that look you just gave me. We're going to go over that. But it was where I was just taking the criticism, all the constructive stuff. You're going to have trolls everywhere.
You're going to want to use
they're everywhere.
the platform that you feel most comfortable with, right? I stream on several platforms and I post on
Start with
across
one.
a lot.
Just focus on one.
You want to very much master that one that you're going to.
List the names of the things?
Oh, so
Yeah.
I do, my podcast is on Spotify. It's Podcaster. And then I don't do YouTube. It's probably the only one. But I do Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I post on LinkedIn. So I use all the social media platforms. And on all of them, I do pictures and video. And I mix up the content. I do on Facebook a lot of just word-heavy stuff, and then a lot of audio and video on everything else. So, yeah, but you definitely want to master like the one platform that you're gonna actually put your podcast
And
on.
for the kind of video or kind of idea you were trying to go with, there is a YouTube channel that I watch that kind of has a format like that I watch on YouTube. His name's James Klug, Klug. And it's where he's more of a like political commentator. So he'll have it where he's in his like room filming the video, but then he'll go out, out on the streets and then start interviewing people and then kind of getting the kind of out there commentary from them. But it's kind of like that back and forth as far as him talking to people on the streets, giving kind of his commentary, a shot of him back in his studio talking about it as well.
There's a lot of those on TikTok.
Yeah.
The guys that go out on the street and do interviews. There's some of them here in Houston that do it, but like Austin, downtown Austin, they'll go and like interview people on the street in the middle of the night kind of thing. But so there is a lot of that goes on.
Yeah, so I would say, because it could feel like a lot. You're like, man, there's so much.
Yeah.
Just focus on one at
Well,
first.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere I look, I see another name of somebody.
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
Videos some other way, and I have no clue which one's. Why is this one better? Why is that one better? Do you make money here? Do you not make money there?
I would
How do
say
you put it
don't
on?
even worry about the money thing.
Yeah.
Do not worry about it.
You
You don't
worry
want to
about it.
start that
You don't want
way.
to start that at
What-
all.
what
When you,
start?
as far as just because this will happen when I see a lot of times is, they're like, I want my channel to blow up because I want money.
Okay.
Usually when that happens, it always is doomed to fail.
Okay.
Always. Because you haven't even put in the legwork of making sure your first video is good.
Right.
To the point where I said, hey, Gonz, your music sucks. You're going to have, I'll tell you this, like when I first started, and you probably ran into this too, the first 10, 20, 30 beats you ever made, trash. But if you didn't make those, say, videos, didn't make those audio tracks, you wouldn't be where you're at now because you learn from that. From there. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I learned how to now make my drum beat sound better. I know how to make my synth sound better. I know how to really interview somebody better. I really know how
so
to set
working
up a
on the
shot
content,
better.
working on the content is going to be important, and then, like I said, just mastering the one platform that
It'll
you're really
then
good at.
lead into that once you start kind of building
Yeah.
kind of your template and your flow. Naturally, that'll start picking up
Yeah.
from there. It's just I see it too many times that people get focused on the metrics
Right.
when they even haven't started on step 1 yet.
Well, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, no.
For the long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, same. I want the bag too.
Okay, I don't want to do anything else
Yes.
because this is paying my bills.
Yes, absolutely.
So then,
yeah.
depending on what platform you're on,
Yes.
you want to learn like how many followers you need in order to start making money.
Yes.
And make that part of your goals, right? If it's 1,000 followers on TikTok or whatever it is,
Yeah, 'cause
and
like
then
YouTube is like 1,500 to
yeah.
start monetizing.
So after 1,000 followers, then you can start making money. Then you definitely want to learn what those metrics are and kind of go from there. But yeah, starting with like nothing and trying to think that it's gonna blow up immediately.
There you go. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. What was your idea for your podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, my idea is about creativity. How do you use creativity in a daily life
Mhm.
or towards the interior design?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's good. That's
I'm
unique.
terrible at design.
No, yeah, I'm terrible
I
at
gotta
design
talk
too.
with you. Yeah. Not my doing. But I'm not the feng shui master either. I'm trying to get better at that myself.
So once you get past the name of your, not the name, sorry, the content, then figuring out a name, right? Like my easy one was the dating one, right? 50 First Dates. I came to mind for like the movie 50 First Dates, and then Houston, because I'm in Houston. Taking Back Your Power was something that also just kind of came easily. So definitely something that's going to happen with that is it has to come naturally, right? Like it's not something that if you overthink it sometimes you'll end up with 20 different names and then you're like, I don't even know where to go with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is yours, Jaime?
Yeah, drive momentum.
Drive momentum.
So it's all about, what's your drive? What drives you? Like what you do as an artist, or what you do with what you also, it comes with that right there.
But then you're also in mechanics and
Yeah,
automotive. So
drive momentum is my business on the side, and what I started doing during the pandemic, I had a lot of friends, family members that couldn't afford to pay for mechanic work because they lost their job. So I started creating videos on how to educate people how to work on the vehicles,
That's awesome.
and it started growing. So it's
Yeah. But it came like double, right? Like it is
Yeah.
what you do, and then it became your podcast and what you're like sharing.
Yeah, so with the podcast, that was more like, okay, I was in a dark place for many years, and I realized, okay, cool. Been working on myself where I started attracting positive people. I mean, look, I'm here with y'all, right? And so the confidence started coming in, and that's where the podcast started coming in. Like, how can I help others out there? I have 2 former students of mine that they're already adults, and they're struggling. So they always ask for my advice, and they're doing pretty good now, and I'm happy for them. And so then I realized, I think I got something here.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see what I can do to put out some more positive value for
Yeah.
people out there.
That's awesome.
And it makes sense, right, for you. So definitely when it comes to like the name of your podcast and the content, it's something that should come natural and that you're really
Absolutely.
passionate about because otherwise it's not going to work, right?
It's
You're
part
going
of your personality, right?
yeah, and your personality, because you're going to give up on it, right? If it's something that you're not interested in or like something that will lose the fizz after a while, you're definitely not going to keep it up.
Because consistency is key.
Yes,
Big time.
very much so. The other thing I want to talk about is whether you're going to do this podcast on your own, right? Is it like a solo thing? You're just constantly, it's just going to be you giving advice like Jaime's talking about. Or are you going to have like a host, a co-host, right? Somebody else. And then are you going to bring in a guest? So you have to think about all those different things, that dynamic. And then also how that's going to work with your recording situation, right? Like, are you recording it in person like this? Or, are you doing it on Zoom? So you want to think about all those different little details and how you're going to work it out when it comes to the recording side. I thought it would be super easy to interview people and bring people in, but then COVID happened and I was stuck for a little bit. I was like, what the hell? So then I realized that you could do it on Zoom and that made it easier. And other than that, I didn't have equipment at all. I was using my phone. So it was all something that I learned along the way. But also I didn't let it stop me, right? I just kept kind of figuring it out and doing my research and figuring out with like people like Gons, okay, well, I can do this or I can do that. But yeah, it's something you want to think about. I thought I was going to do Taking Back Your Power on my own. I thought I'm just going to share because I'm interesting enough, right? And then I did the first one. I was like, I only did like 8 minutes. I was like, oh my, that's nothing. So then I had to interview people because it would expand that content for me. And then in between, I do my 8-minute, interesting story about myself kind of thing. But yeah, I figured that it wasn't going to work long term if it was just me because I couldn't talk on my own for 30 minutes. Yeah.
The Zoom that will record everything,
Yeah.
is that a paid subscription? Or is that
No, I actually had mine for free for
That's
a
part of
long
the free?
time. Yeah, you can. Yeah, but it limits you.
Yeah, they started capping it off like at 30, 30,
It's
45
45
now.
minutes. It limits you. But honestly, a lot of my podcasts aren't more than 30 or 40 minutes anyway, because then people lose interest in time.
Yeah, typically. that happens.
If you pay for it, you can record
Yeah, for
as
however
much
long
as
you
you want. Yeah. Which later I did. Like now I pay for my Zoom. But when I started, it was free. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, when I first started, everything was free. I never paid for anything because I was like, I don't know how long I'm going to do this for.
Yeah, I would always advise going that route before you start going
yeah.
the subscription route with all
Try-
these different things. You're like, I just want to know if I'm into this.
Right. Yeah.
And not like, oh, great, they just took $300 this month. Shit.
And you're not going to use it again. Yeah. Yeah. So that's really important to kind of, make note of is, are you going to do it on your own? Are you going to interview people? Are you going to be a co-host? I follow a podcast. It's called Cheesemith Therapy, and it's 2 girls, and it's just them 2, and they talk. And they do so good, and it's so entertaining, and I love listening to them. So you definitely want to figure out who you're working with because that can also make a difference. I've started a lot of podcasts with groups of people, and they have not lasted, right? It's been easier for me to just do it on my own and bring in people and interview people versus having to partner with someone. And that sometimes just has to do with like your time, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm a mom, I have 2 kids, and if I partner with somebody, sometimes it's another mom and then she has like 4 kids. So we could never meet up or, something was always not right.
That's the biggest challenge I see when people come in here to record with me is just trying to get the timing
Yeah.
right.
Scheduling.
The other thing, and I don't know if anyone has run into this, when you're trying to include more than 2 people on your show, it can either be the most entertaining show on the planet or it can be the biggest shit show. Nothing's worse than having 4 people talking at the same time with audio.
Or not enough.
Or not
Like,
enough. So
one
you have
person
you can have
talking-
dead air, everyone talking at the same time, or just where it just fizzles out. The energy just drops.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. It was 3 of us. We were 3 co-hosts, and we would bring in an extra person. And all women, it was like, I would like back out sometimes. I'm like, let me stop because this is a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, you definitely want to be conscious of like who and what, and then the conversation. How you really have to have someone that's like leading, and
Yes.
now I'm gonna let Gons talk, and then I'm gonna
Absolutely.
let Jaime talk. So just kind of someone who's really good at that. Because if not, it's like pure chaos. And yeah,
Yeah, you got to find the
and don't
the nice
involve
dynamic.
alcohol because then it's real chaos.
I've been lucky so far. I don't know why the past couple
I
ones I've
had
recorded,
one
they
of-
always bring a bottle. I'm like, oh Lord, let's
One
see
of
what's
my
gonna happen.
51st dates one, we did like a girls' night, and it was I think 5 of us, and we brought alcohol. I
It
think
was a good one.
it was good, but it was I was like so nervous
You're like, you
afterwards.
better
I was
not
like,
post this
oh
on
my God.
YouTube right now.
No, everybody was crying. We were like, I was like, oh my God, okay, hope this turns out good. But yeah, it was scary for a minute though, because yeah.
Yeah, so not too much alcohol.
No.
Especially when you first
Um,
start. You want to make sure you get a smooth thing going.
Definitely.
I know you guys are saying you were doing your podcast. What's kind of your like route? Like, how do you shoot it, or how did you kind of put it together on?
Is
Not
it
to put you on the
YouTube?
spot, just
Okay.
kind of curious of how your workflow is.
He's mostly the lead in this stuff.
Okay.
Like, look up wise information, basically based off the information in the world. It's supposed to be like the wise thing to do.
Okay. Now, do you guys have it set up where you have kind of like talking points, and then you kind of set not a specific amount of time you're going to talk about it, but you kind of have like a bulleted kind of workflow on there? I'm just trying to give you guys ideas of
We're
how some people kind of construct.
Supposed to, but we get off topic.
And that,
But that
and
happens.
that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
A really good skill set you'll start building is learning how to like reel it back in, because we'll tend to do that just in
Yeah.
natural conversations where we might be talking about putting a lug nut back on the tire, and then all of a sudden we're talking about what happened to my grandma,
Yeah.
at some point.
It's
But
a
then we're
natural
like
thing.
bringing it back into a conversation. The reason I was bringing that up is just to see how people's workflow goes, because I'll have some in here that they'll have everything scripted out as far as like we're going to be talking about this kind of point here. Let me make sure I hit these marks, and then we'll cut.
And you can tell. I've
Yeah.
been on podcasts where they're like literally reading, "Hi, my name is," and they're like on the paper. I'm like, oh my God, she's really just reading it off the paper. I don't
Yeah.
ever write. Today I wrote stuff, but I don't ever do that.
Yeah. If you're doing a video one, I would highly suggest not to go that route. I know the Amber Alert's popping up everywhere. Because you have to remember, if you're looking down, your audience member is at the camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably going to be the trickiest thing when you first start, is like, oh, this is a person right here. Not this.
Yeah.
Because you'd be surprised how many times when you first start, you forget to look at the camera. You forget to talk about what your show is. I've seen that many times. People are like, all right, we're going to go da-da-da. And like, oh, you didn't even like introduce yourselves.
That's
I don't
why I
know
recorded
who
my
you are.
intro separately.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
mine, I have my intro separate.
Yes,
So
I
I'll
would
say my
recommend-
name
I
and
would recommend
what,
you do that.
what my show is,
Yes.
and I do that first because then I can just start talking and then I'll add the intro in. So I
That's
separate
actually
that.
smart. Yeah, I'll tell people, like, if you have an intro, already shoot that.
Yeah.
And save it. Save it as a video or an audio
audio
template.
separate. Mm-hmm.
And then if you had, say, you had certain sponsors or any particular people at the end, you can always like shoot those as well. So now all you're doing is getting like the meat and potatoes of your actual show.
Yeah.
And then you just input your intro and your outro, and
And
you're
it
good.
saves you time.
That's number one. Trying to save
Because
time.
like when people come in and you're trying to sit down and do it, like do the podcast, it just is easier for you to get started and go because they don't have to be on that side of it, right? Of you
Yep.
getting yourself together. So
So
Yeah.
it's okay to reuse your intro.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have my same intros for both of my podcasts and I just plug it in. Yeah, definitely. Because it's just, I mean, if it's you, my name is Connie and this is my podcast, like, yeah, it makes it
If you
very
felt
easy.
like kind of changing it up,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll have individuals where they'll just bring a different outfit and they're like, hey, I did this one commercial bump for my show, and I would I'm just gonna change it to this jacket and this script, re-say this
For the
and then-
video,
for the
if you're
video. If
doing
you're doing a
video.
video, even with the audio, if you wanted to say you had new sponsors or
Yeah.
you just kind of wanted
to update it.
update it, you can always do that too.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you-
that's why I use the same one because mine is only audio. I don't ever have video. So that's why I'm able
On the video
to.
side, they're like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to do a little different. I got this
Yeah.
new coat I want to show off. And so they'll film that and use that for like 2 months. So so
You could also just do like one promo
Mm-hmm.
of it and use that, and then people already know what it is, and then just get into the like podcasting of it.
do you have a podcast you're working on? No? Just curious? Okay. I don't want you to feel like a stranger. We kind of welcome everybody in on there. Questions? I know we're kind of like
I
jumping
know.
through a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
What would be the most recommended way to set up the camera? Because right now I'm looking
Yeah.
at this camera,
Mhm.
and you mentioned to look at the camera.
Yes.
But in the podcast that videos
Yeah.
that the podcast is on Spotify, but the video is on YouTube. So I don't know if they changed the format. But most of the time I have the feeling that they have two cameras, probably three, because one is like pointing at you.
Yes.
The second pointing at you, and there's
Mm-hmm.
a next image when they are together. So how does that
So how that would work is I didn't quite set up 3 on here, but you'll have a tool. Let me see if I can switch this.
What is that one doing?
So that one is actually just filming the
Oh,
whole thing, so
got
we
it.
can trying to level up their YouTube game.
Got it.
So trying to film the whole thing with that, and then let me just move this over here real quick. All right, let's see. Come on now. Oh, the tried and true right here. Yeah. I have this thing for like 10 years. Still works. So, like this right here is a camera switcher. So what I would end up doing, and what typically people will do is, as an example, if I have, let me cut this out here. So this one in particular, I can put 4 cameras, and right now I don't have anything plugged into 2, 3, and 4. So if I hit 2, it goes to black on here. But say I plugged her phone into the back of this, my phone, another camera, I can switch between these. So what I'll do here, so I had to film a podcast they were like hairstylists, and there was 4 people. So I had to get a shot of 2 of them over here. So I have to do one of that.
So you would need an extra person.
Yes,
to
you would-
do that.
you could if you had all the cameras set up and you had this next to you. You need some type of switching application to basically switch your camera feeds. That's probably the easiest way. You could hook up 4 different like webcams and set up a program like this called OBS where I can switch between different shots. Back to here. Let's go back and forth like this. But you need some type of application or some type of hardware or software that lets you switch between cameras. So when I'm having to do multiple cameras, for me to save time, like I'll live switch and record everything on this because I can record to a hard drive on here. So I don't have to go back to the editing software. I can try to do it all in one take, plus the audio. Because my goal in here is to record, get the video and the audio, and give that back to the client either by the same day or the following day. So for those typical setups, you're gonna have like your main establishing shot where you see everyone, and they're almost like So say I was gonna do 3 camera setups, like I would have this in the center, then I will pretend this is another camera. This is facing that individual, and then I have another one facing that way. So if you didn't have the switching capability, the way you would end up doing it, and this is where people are like, damn, I hate editing. Because all those take SD cards. You save on a memory card on the cameras. You would then take all the cards out. Then you put it on your computer. Then you get every single clip. Exactly. I'm telling you. It's not air horn life. It's not air horn life at all. So some people are like, bro, can I just pay somebody to do all that for me? So sometimes that's where I come in on that. But sometimes that's usually how it goes. That's the behind the scene that people don't know.
Yeah.
Where they're like, how the hell do they do it and it looks so smooth and easy? Because it's not you.
There's usually a production team behind that.
Your whole team behind
Yeah.
you know, but it's where, like, for myself, for my production tutorials, I had to start coming up with tools that would help me out. So for myself, it's like I have a shot of the camera facing me, and then I have a top-down camera that shows like my keyboard, and then I have on the screen. I totally made it black on there. Switch this up here. Yeah, battery died, so that's why I got that webcam back up. You know, Plan B. Where I can show my screen, but it takes a little time to start developing your flow. If it's just you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have, I see your face. I see it. I know. You're like, oh, my Lord, trying to do 3. But I tell people, like, before you get to that point, if you start off with 1 camera, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
What would be the initial setting for someone that is the beginner? For the first
You can literally do like a webcam. You can literally do your phone. You can do your phone also.
But the location.
I would say where you're in front. I would
In
go
front of it.
center. Well, what's super important is lighting. Super important. Like right now we have like that lighting. We have this softbox lighting here. If you have natural light coming from your window, like you can totally use that too. That's super important on there. What was that? You can use a ring light too. I think we got one right behind you over there.
Yeah.
So that's like number one. That just definitely lighting will help. And try to get something that kind of softens light. We were talking earlier as far as you can get. Because some people have even like a ring light, not even a ring light, just a light, or like the ceiling fan light, and that's like the least flattering light. You're like, oh my god, it's like whatever. Yes, I will say as far as one YouTube channel that I watched that I learned a lot of stuff from, is called Think Media. Think Media, super helpful, and they break everything down. If you're just using your phone, how to film with just your phone, how to film with 1 camera, how to film with 3 cameras, how to edit for 3 cameras, how to edit with just your 1 camera, and learning how to do different shots with that. You can buy lenses for your phone that work really well too. Like you can just attach it. So if your space is limited in your room, you can get what's called like a wide angle lens, and then actually screw it to your phone's lens and make the shot wider also. So if you're like, I don't got 2,000 to drop on a camera. No way.
And the microphones also.
And the microphones. You don't need anything super crazy. Like you said, you can get stuff for like $50.
On Amazon, like $40.
All day.
The lapel.
Yes.
Yeah.
They can work. Now, don't record in your bathroom. We talked about this earlier. Reverb. Don't do the bathroom. If you got a really messy closet with fur coats, that's like the best spot. on there. If you're like, what the hell you want me to do in a closet? If you actually get moving blankets, work really well. If you put them around your room, it's gonna look really weird. But you need something that absorbs sound on there. It's super important.
Well, but if she's doing video, she would
As far
want
as that-
something that looks pretty.
What you can do for that is you can actually get a partition that angles,
Oh, yeah.
and you can actually hang stuff up on there if you wanted to, or pick a certain wall, make a partition, and put blankets on the other end, or just put
And
carpet.
like,
or- yeah.
close it off
So
kinda thing.
you could get like a really nice, or I would say really nice rug. Like, oh, you balling like that? You can get a rug, like even like a crazy furry like rug. You're just trying to deaden sound.
Right.
So if you have a lot of stuff in your room, it's actually better.
Right, right.
So if you have a messy room with a lot of stuff, you're gonna be surprised. Actually, it can
So
sound
record
pretty
in
good.
my kids' rooms.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly. But for those 3 camera setups, because that's like, that's a sexy look. You want to have
Yeah.
that, and that.
Yeah.
But that's when I have to do camera switching like that. I have to use some type of application that lets me do
Yeah.
that. Or I can easily just switch between camera angles. Because if not, you then have to run into taking all the, say you had 3 phones. Because I've had people who are like, oh, I'll do it. I'm like, okay, hey, more power to you. But they'll bring 3 phones and record on all 3 phones. Then they have to take that video,
all that content.
then put it in their software. And then you have to remember, because you have 3 videos, they're all overlapping each other. So now you have to cut between the 3. So you're constantly moving up and down. Yes. So you're like, oh, when did she talk about whatever? Oh, let me go to her shot. And then like, oh yeah, we all laughed at this joke. Ha ha ha. That happened 20 minutes in. Oh, let me cut to that and move these other 2 out the way. Yeah. It's not to scare you. I don't mean
But
to
it
sound
is a lot of work.
But it is a lot of work. But that's why I try to stress
Yeah.
the point of you're going to start learning how to make this flow easier. So even for myself, because I'm doing the editing and trying to chop it up, because sometimes I'll have quite a few clients coming in, if I don't try to build a system in place, I'm going to start getting like bogged down on clientele. So for myself, if there's a certain key point, I always have notes next to me. So I'm like, oh, okay. When I start recording, if something sounds really cool, I'm like, oh, 15-minute mark, they went into this. Let me make sure
Oh, that's smart.
I key in on this. Or when they're all grouping together, or when they're on their drinking time and they're all going cheers, like, oh, let me make sure to go to that camera shot to capture that moment. So I try to make sure I stay paying attention and make little notes. So if I have to go back to editing, I'm like, oh yeah, 15 minutes. I wrote this down for some reason. Oh, 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
Oh, I did this. I did this. Just to make it
And
easier.
it's not to say that you can't learn it and do it, but
Yeah.
it is work.
It is
and
work.
as long as you're willing to put in that effort, like it'll happen, right? So,
Yeah.
just
But
to know that
there
there is
is
a lot.
little process on there.
Yeah.
But ideally, you just want to make sure that you have a shot that you can see yourself clear and your audio is good. Number one, make sure you get a good shot of yourself. I'll say good lighting, good audio, and then your video. Those would be the 3. Then you can start elevating. You're like, oh, okay, I got a little money, got a little extra camera I can buy, or this cool fancy microphone
Yeah.
on there. But then from that point, you've already started building how your show is. That's super important.
And
Make
your
sure
process.
your show is fun, Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can have a super pretty camera, but if your content's not there, it's like,
Did
what's
you
the
have
point?
another
Yeah,
question?
you had something.
Well,
Okay.
Is there a prospect that you might try to start with one camera? Do you need to show things other than you, like this and then that?
Yeah, what was kind of your thought process as far as doing 3 cameras? Like, what was kind of leading you towards that?
The process was because based on the videos that I've seen, that
Mhm.
I'm telling you,
Yes.
those podcasts are in Spotify and at the same time on YouTube. So when I watch the video, I can see that there's rotation of the cameras and then a focus on the person who's talking, and
Yes.
then they put them together.
They
and
pan out.
sometimes even parts on the products that they have the sponsors.
Yes.
So
And usually with that is like really having things scripted out. Not that you're going to exactly say these lines, but a
Right.
flow of how your show's going to be. Where you're like, okay, I talked about this topic. And then to your point, as far as like showing a product, you're like, okay. Or you're trying to show like a quick little commercial between that, like on your video. If you're trying to showcase, had one that they would do like is like some Saudi Arabian like face cream kind of deal. They were doing voiceovers over this commercial. Then they would go into their show.
Yeah. I've
So
seen
they,
that
yeah,
too.
so they'll have like literally they'll have a video of their commercial with no audio happening, and they're doing voiceover on top of that. Then go into the rest of their stuff.
yeah, I'm sure like you.
'Cause then they'll start
Yeah.
piecing it
They have a
together.
system to do that.
But if it's just yourself and whatever product, I mean, have it all in one shot. Do that.
Yeah, just put it in front of you. Place it in front of you.
Because I have some where like they just do one shot, but they're like showcasing their hoodie or their shirt, and they're like, "Oh, I want to showcase my shirt." I'm like, "Okay, walk closer to the camera, and I'll zoom in right on the camera, and then just walk right back out."
Yeah.
So we get a dynamic shot just by me zooming in. So you can use little editing tricks where you're like, "Oh, let me just zoom into a shot," but I don't have two cameras to do it, or I don't have a top down at that time.
Yeah.
On there too. Yes, sir.
And I would say the one and only thing I might be able to observe is if you're going to try that, I watch a lot of how to, do this and assemble that and paint this and stuff. And there's one thing you'll see it, it's obvious if you ever watch yourself. If you're going to pick up the camera, I'm showing this and now I'm going to show that, always move slowly. Never move fast. It looks like you made it up on the fly. Just, it's got to be like that because you don't want to distract them with the movement. And I see people who do and don't know that in these assembly things. Because, oh my God, you're seasick, after about 10
Roller coaster vibes, man.
Whereas if some guys just say, okay, and so now I'm going to do this, and they show you that, and they let it sit for a moment so it anchors. They say, okay, and then I put this back down, and I come back. And they do it fluid and smooth, and it's just like day and night difference. You can sit and watch that forever. So if you're going to try it with one, it can be done. Just don't rush. Ever.
Good point.
Well, I hope that's helpful. I mean,
Yeah. No, it's good.
I don't know.
So something else that I want to talk about is branding, right? Gons talked about this earlier. He made fun of it. But knowing initially what your brand is going to look like is really important too, right? Like I said, for 51st Dates Houston, it was kind of easy. It was just me, single people, so I figured that out. For Taking Back Your Power, it had to be something a little bit more empowering and something that was going to be a little bit more stronger than the other podcasts that I was doing. So thinking about that on the front end, right? Knowing if you're going to have a logo, is it the podcast going to be a picture of you? What is it that you're going to use and how you're going to figure out that branding for the podcast? You kind of want to have it on the front end. For me, because a lot of my branding in general is me personally. I am my own brand. I just use my picture on everything. I don't have a logo. I don't have a logo for 51st Dates or Taking Back Your Power. It's
To that
just
point,
the
sorry.
names. Go ahead.
If you had no idea about creating a logo, who to talk to about a logo, would you have any clue where to go to find something?
Chat GPT.
You
You're
could
about
use
to say AI?
ChatGPT, or you can use a site called Fiverr.
Oh, yeah. You can have somebody.
I have a buddy that is starting his own DJ business, not a great artist,
Right.
and he found people that actually do like branding packages.
It's a branding kit. So
A branding kit, yes.
Etsy has them too. So for my
into
strategy company, which is the Creativity Well, that I do have a logo. I went to Etsy and I found a branding kit, and then someone to make my logo from that. So
Literally just like
I did have
branding kit.
Yeah, branding kit. And so it's a whole package, and it put the branding together for me. And then I just so you see it does. So I just picked something that was already pre-made, and then they did my logo for me. So yeah, and mine was, I paid like less than that, like $25, and I loved it. So definitely you want to think about all of that on the front end also.
Pick one here. I guess this one.
And it's really easy to create if you haven't like done it or figured it out. But you can also do it in AI now. Desiree, you know Desiree.
Mm-hmm.
She was showing me yesterday through Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I think it's called, I don't remember the name now. Dale?
On the there's one called Dolly.
Dolly. And that one, it'll
So,
create
I'll use
a logo for you.
I'll use one called Midjourney.
Oh, Midjourney.
I'll use that to. I think we had
Yeah,
made
yeah.
some. I'll use it for my album artwork for like singles that I produce, because I suck at drawing. Just stick figure style. That's it.
And they're really good,
so-
the AI stuff. But for me, this
Has
was
anyone
easy.
used any type of like art generating like software before?
I just use Canva.
Canva? Okay.
Canva.
Anyway, okay. So there's one that I use, and I use it through Discord. Discord is kind of how I wish kind of Facebook used to be, where it's like chat rooms and things like that. So the way it works is, I'll try to load it up on here.
And that's Midjourney.
It's Midjourney.
Yeah.
They'll give you a like 25 like free images that you can come up
Download.
with,
Mhm.
and then it becomes like a paid service where it's like $10 a month.
On ChatGPT, you have to buy it. It's the
Oh,
upgraded
gotcha.
version. You can't do it for
Try to
free.
open it up
You
on
can
here.
do ChatGPT for free, but not the design part.
Gotcha. So with this one, of course, it's everything has to update all of a sudden on here. But
So
yeah,
branding and logo,
super important.
thinking
on
about that from the beginning is really important. If it's tied to your business already and you already have that done, then that makes it a little bit easier versus having to start from scratch. And but you also, like I said, I don't have for either of my podcasts a specific logo that I use or super specific branding for it. It's more about myself, so it makes it a little bit easier. But if you're doing design, interior design, that would be something that you definitely want to think about.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so on here, let me see. I want to put somebody on the spot. Let's see here. So what I have to do is create a prompt for it. Now, you guys, okay. What is an artwork idea that you have? I know it's tough.
Do you already have a logo for your podcast? Do you already have branding for it? No. Okay. What
If you had to come up with something, I'll put my waiting for you to come up with some song on here. So what do we got?
No pressure.
No pressure. What's coming? Artwork. Let's see.
And this is how the podcast broke up. Because Don's asked a
Whoops, sorry.
question.
My bad. Okay, so what is your guys' podcast about? Or we got? I know
They
you
said
said
current
random.
events.
Current events.
Random current events, right?
Okay, let's do.
Let's do like the world, like a world
okay.
prompt or something.
Okay, something about the world.
Like a globe. That's what
Okay.
I mean.
Globe.
And current globe, current events. Is
We'll
that
just
going to
put
go
words.
dark?
We'll see
though?
what happens. We're gonna put globe, current events, make it look cool. I'm just gonna.
Okay,
put
do that. Yes.
Globe.
Do happier.
put a
Oh,
brain in it. Okay.
Okay. There you go. You have
Globe.
something. You've been
It's
thinking
that
about
pressure, bro.
this.
So globe, current events, with a brain.
And it gets kind of scary, so.
So
I'm
we'll
like,
see. We'll see how it goes. Make it kid friendly.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a video friendly. Okay. So I'll hit enter, and then what it'll do, it'll try to create images. It'll give you 4 images to pick from. It'll put it in this kind of setup here, where it's like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can decide which one you want, or you can expand more on that particular image and keep building from that. So it'll keep going depending on your internet. So now it'll try to create something. from that.
Oi.
So it's still
That's
it's still
kinda
31%.
creepy.
So it's still kind of going, and so what you could do, you can kind of remix this if you wanted to. Like you had this little arrow here, and so say you like that one, or say you wanted this one, but you're like, oh, you know what? I wanted to where they're wearing the color blue. They're wearing the color blue or anything like that. You can keep expanding on it. Or you can put it where it's like in the art style of. So if you have a certain artist that you like, you're like, oh, I want this kind of imagery, but in the style of this painter. Like, oh, I wanted to be like in a Van Gogh style, but I wanted to have this. So for myself, I've just kind of messed with certain things. So like with this one, I used it for like album art. So I used this for like album art. So I took that. It's called Midjourney. Isn't
Through
Midjourney?
Discord.
Through Discord is where you go to
Yeah.
use that. So I'll try to put up this site here so you can actually see it on here. So that's how it's set up, and then it'll say sign in, join the bit. Yeah, it's called Midjourney. There's a lot of them now that pop up. The other popular one is Dolly. Is another one's DALL-E.
Yeah, that
There's
one's
one
through
too.
ChatGPT.
So it's where I'll actually tie this in with ChatGPT. There's a Chrome extension called ARPRM or AIPRM, where it can help me create better prompts. I think the new skill set that we're actually going to start learning is learning how to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
That tends to be where you see more of the success when you're trying to utilize these tools. Is you have to remember it's your assistant. It's not going to
Yeah.
take you over.
And it
Not
does
going to be
like
hybrids just yet.
does the creepy, funky thing that you don't
Yeah.
want.
So
you
one
wanna-
thing I have noticed, and they're actually getting better on it, is when it comes to the hands. For some reason, when it tries to model hands, it does a bad job
Mm-hmm.
on it. So if you're telling it, hey, I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
So you could like hit somebody with it. They always tend to add like an extra finger for some reason. Or you're like,
Extra
oh,
arm.
picture of a 50-year-old dude walking down the beach, and all of a sudden it's like a Wolverine, like long like claws for some reason. So when it comes to like hand modeling, they're getting a lot better on it. But I'll tend to see issues with it. Also, what I'll do, you can import pictures in it as well, and it'll give you descriptions. So if there's like, say, I had found someone did a really cool tattoo of their arm that I saw on an image. I put the image in to Midjourney because you can actually
You uploaded it?
Yeah, because you can put, it'll give you a prompt based on a picture. So it'll try to put distinctive details about it. So then you can go back, remix it, add your kind of words that you want, and it'll try to create something new from there as well. So yeah, a lot of times I'll just kind of like, these are just ones I just kind of created through there. So yeah, got Midjourney, Dolly, that's another one too. We can go down a rabbit hole
Yeah.
on these.
Service, right?
The what?
This is paid service.
Yes.
Is it all paid?
No, when you first start, you'll be in a group. So
And
like
it's
this
free.
is like a direct one. Yeah, it's free.
And
so,
that one's free. But
yeah.
you can't do a lot
So
with it.
so this is like the group one.
Yeah.
So it's just multiple people showing their stuff. Like this is called the newbie room. So these are like different ones that people will just upload on there. And of course, there's probably yoga lady on there. But you can have where like, oh, I want this image to look like a Pixar style.
You could also learn from the prompts in
And
that
you can
one.
learn from the prompts. I think that's what I've discovered. Like, oh, I wanted mine to kind of look like that. How do I tell it to generate that? So you start getting better at of asking specific things with
Yeah.
it. Who's familiar with the ChatGPT? I think we're kind of going down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole. on
Have y'all
that.
used
Have y'all
ChatGPT?
messed with
Yeah.
it? What have you used it for? I'm just gonna go down the
For descriptions about pictures.
For anything.
design.
Okay. Oh, gotcha.
Tags for, I don't know, like a modern, ultra-modern kitchen. And it gives me description about that.
Okay. Cool. What have you?
I use it for brainstorming.
Okay.
So if I got an idea, I just can't really bring it out.
Yeah.
Because I got right on there. This is what I'm looking for. I'm putting some terms in it, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and it pops up. And sometimes it works. And then when it does, it's like, okay, now I have a compass. Now I can. Do
It'll
that for
trigger
myself.
your
Yeah,
your
yeah.
thoughts. Yeah.
Have you messed with it?
Like kind of getting like a summary of something, kind of like an essay that I don't want to write or something, like that. Yeah.
Letters,
Letters.
work related.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How to be
Have they
professional.
ever said, did you get that off ChatGPT?
Well, I asked one time and they said that we recommend for this to be a personal conversation instead of a document, but here it is.
Gotcha.
Right.
There you
yeah.
go. Again, it's all about how you prompt it
Yeah.
on there. Have you messed with that program at all? Okay, it's okay. I appreciate your honesty on there. Have you messed with it a little bit? What did you try messing with on that?
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
That's
Cool.
good. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Have you messed with it a little bit? Okay. There's nothing wrong.
I know. I used to do my schoolwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps.
Then, I take it and take what it gives me
Yeah.
and reword it and
Okay.
That's another thing is like editing, right? You don't have to use it the way it is. Like
Right.
I write a lot of stuff on there too, and then I, copy and paste it into a Word doc and edit the way I need it to be, or
Yeah.
to sound more like myself versus a computer. But yeah.
Have you messed with it at all before? Okay. That's the new thing I've been starting to mess with is like code. Yeah. Likewise. Yeah.
I have no clue what that means.
I'll show you. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's what I'll also do. Yep. There's one I'm trying to do where like I get 3 images and they like shuffle and I want it to land on a particular thing. So I asked it like, hey, can you help me code this type of style that I'm going for? But I need to be a simplistic animation, and then it would start giving me the coding.
So then
for
where
that.
do you
Yeah.
plug the codes into?
Into a text editor? You can do it into there, or there's a couple ones.
To
You can even do
generate-
it to
to
generate
generate
the
what?
code, a code on there.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's a platform that you can upload those things to.
got it.
How about yourself? You okay? Cool. You're like I ain't messing with this. Crazy. You guys?
I use it a lot.
Okay.
With this picture music
Okay.
to labels,
Gotcha.
writing Instagram stories.
Oh, I use that all the time for that.
Captions,
yeah.
yeah.
Super helpful. By
Yeah.
yourself.
I used to apologize to my wife.
That's a good one. My coworker used it to prove to her husband that they needed a dog. I was like, yeah, no, that's so
Did she
put the
look at it and
prompt
she
in.
like you wrote? She was like, did okay? I thought she would
Was
look at it like,
easier than-
did you
It's
write this?
original.
Did you really write this?
That is so funny.
That's actually pretty smooth, man.
Yeah.
actually. How about yourself? Okay? How about yourself?
I have for a lot of things, but
Yeah.
like for scripting, 30 days of scripts. Or,
Oh, nice. That's smart.
Creating an online book
Yes.
that you can sell.
Cool.
Awesome.
I use it
I
to
use-
help me create a lesson plan. So I teach at a DJ school, and like I already have like topics that I want to talk about, but I kind of put in there, how can I explain this in a bit more detail in a way that someone can understand it easy, and help me create a slide so I can put them in like Google Slides and make those specific slides for
Yeah.
them, and then help me like, you know what, I'll stop talking, let me just show you. Or if it pops up
I've
on
used
here.
mine to write grant proposals and
Oh, nice.
grant writing.
Let me see if it shows
Yeah.
up on here.
And again, it's not perfect. Like you definitely have to go in and edit and customize.
Because it'll take a keyword and it'll use that one word repeatedly
Yeah.
through the document.
Yeah. You have to really read through it and edit. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was one where I was wanting it to like add exercises for my students to do. I had to do one where I was teaching someone that all they spoke was in Spanish, and I didn't know certain technical terms that I could explain it to them because I just didn't know. So I would tell ChatGPT, hey, can you help me write a set of lessons that have English subtext to Spanish titles so that I can explain it to them and show them, and I would understand it too. I would tell it like, hey, I have a picture of this particular DJ device. Can you lay out all the functions, but put it in Spanish with English underneath, so that I can then explain it, translate it, and so we both kind of learned like English and Spanish.
That's
with
really
that.
cool.
Yeah, I use it for a lot of different
And
stuff.
again, it's about the prompts, right? Like when you
Yeah.
use these tools, and they're just tools, right? So it's about what you're
So
writing
to your
and how
point, because
detailed
you
you
haven't
are.
seen this before, so you kind of get like a window, kind of like this. This is kind of like the extension. Of something.
Yeah.
So you can literally write, help me write. What's up, guys? Help me write a YouTube. We got a packed house today, man. How you guys doing? I said, help me write a YouTube script that involves. Here, I'm gonna butcher this. I'm exposing my crappy typing. That involves me going out to the streets. I'm gonna keep going.
To interview.
To
Ab,
interview, there
to
we go.
interview.
The interview.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. To interview
I
strangers
got to spell it right. Interview strangers
about
what?
current events.
Current events. Okay.
Let's see what it does.
So let's see what it does here. So now it's gonna conjure that up. So it'll say title. All right, it's still going. So it'll literally give you like the layout of it. So
The whole outline.
the whole outline. So here. Thank you, Kat. So like with this one.
Is there a spot over here? Next.
We got our Slayer band playing over there.
I know.
They always put an album out around about 7 o'clock, about right. So with this one, we have it where the title is called Street Talk, Exploring Current Events with Strangers. And then it'll give you an opening shot where you're like, okay, opening shot, scene of busy city streets. So a shot like this, you can even it's called like B-roll, where it's not a shot of yourself, it's just a shot of, the scenery. Then it's yourself, the host. Like, hey, everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're hitting the streets to get the pulse of the people on current events. I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say, so let's dive right in. Then it cuts to you as the host approaching the first person. Hi there, stranger. Would you mind sharing your thoughts on this recent current event? You don't have to say we're recording for a YouTube channel. But you could say that if you're comfortable being on camera, because might want to sign off on it.
So it outlines your entire script.
So it
for
outlines
you.
it. So then
and
it
even
says
like your shots and what
reaction
you're trying
shot
to
of the
do.
person agreeing. Yes, I will agree. And then sure, I like to share my thought. Cut to interview. Host voiceover. Here we have such and such, a resident of the city, sharing their perspective on the recent current event. Let's hear what they have to say. So that's like a shot of you, say at your home, or if you have anything behind you. Then you go back to your footage of your interview out on the street. So it's basically giving you a full layout on there. So if you're completely stuck, like, how do I even start this? Because I've never filmed something like this. You have somewhat of a good template.
You could
to
also
kinda-
put in there how to start a podcast and see what it gives you.
Okay. How to start a podcast after two people sitting down with talking to you. Okay. Podcast. How to start a podcast. That's what. Anything else? Or just put that?
Try, so
On
let's see what it does.
Okay. Now you and I can just leave because it has everything ready to go. We just need a robot just to type things for us
But
now.
yeah,
on
no,
there.
but it's a good.
But now it'll give you an idea. Like
Yeah.
choose. So if you just need like something to just get the ideas flowing, this
Yeah.
is a good way to kind of kickstart.
If you didn't take notes
that.
today.
Yeah, if
then
you
go
didn't take
back.
any notes on there.
Because it's basically
it breaks
everything
it
we've been
down.
talking about.
So I know when you're talking about like on the label thing, like how to pitch the labels.
Yeah.
It'd give you different, sometimes I would do that with like music supervisors when I'm trying to put stuff on certain TV programs or commercials. Like who do I approach? What's the best way to approach? How do I write the best email to approach that person? Sometimes they're like, network, i.e. go and network, go and talk to some people.
But then
too.
also, and to that point is
Yeah.
like, whether you find this kind of content online, you're still always going to need to talk to somebody, right? Because everybody in the room has different experiences
Yes.
and different things. So for me, they talk a lot about AI replacing human beings, and it's kind of hard, even in a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things that you still need a person to kind of talk you through it and give you their
I think it's going to be
experiences
the
with
inverse
it.
now because
Yeah.
now everyone's going to be like, that's too perfect.
Right.
Nah, that was the GP. That was
Yeah.
GP. Like no,
can-
it wasn't that.
You can figure it out.
But again, this is really helpful on there, and hey, say show what's up to Cat over there, shooting for everybody. To your
Does
point,
anybody have
on-
any more questions?
Yeah, any questions? I know we kind of went on some
I know.
kind of
Little
wild stuff
tangent,
on there.
yes.
I was wondering, do you need to have like content like for your podcast before you started to share on social media, or
Content. Well,
What do you mean?
as far as like, do you need pictures, like because you need to get followers, right? You need to have people come and listen to you. So let's say I'm doing a podcast with my friend. Do we need photos of each other? Do we just use the logo we made? Do we
so it just
make our own page for it?
So it depends, right? So for my 51st date podcast, I was just pushing it through my own personal Instagram, and then I created its own Instagram. I actually started with a Facebook group, and I put a whole bunch of singles in that group, my friends that I knew were singles, and that's how I started promoting it. And then I expanded to like an Instagram page. But you definitely want to grab all of the content that you can while you're creating the podcast. If it's pictures or a logo, whatever that is, then yes, definitely. When I would do my podcast, I would record it, and then I would make sure to take a picture with my guest, right, for that day. And so I just collected all the pictures. So when I was ready to push it on social media, then I had all those pictures already. So it wasn't just the audio content, the link that I was sharing, then I could share the people's pictures. And that's how I would promote it on social media. I would end up using that person's picture. If I would forget, then I would use the same little graphic that I created of myself for the podcast, and that's what I would use because I didn't grab that content. But you definitely do want to get something, whether it's video or pictures or graphics. You can create the graphics in Canva. Yeah, just depends on how you want to promote it.
Yeah, and then once you have those, just make a folder that
Yeah.
that has all those things contained. So you're
And
like, oh
pull
yeah,
it from
now I
there.
remember. Oh, photos here. This is your
Yeah.
goal. Try to streamline everything because everybody's busy.
And it's going to
Yeah.
depend what platforms you want to be on, right? So you know for sure if you want to be on TikTok, you're going to need more video than anything else. So depending on what platforms you want to promote on and push your content on, you're going to want to grab that type of content. For Instagram, it could be very like just graphic heavy, right? And do graphics and your logo versus pictures. But then it just depends where you're going to put it. But yeah, you do want to kind of gather that content before you start promoting.
And then welcome in. How you doing? Part of the family now. Have you done a podcast before, or worked on one, or just kind of curious? Okay. Okay. Cool. Is there an idea of a podcast you'd want to do? Okay. Welcome to DJ family. Myself, I'm over here too. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Okay. Cool. No, I like it. What was your name? Dominique. What was your name? Joe. Nice to meet you guys on there. Questions? Just kind of going around. Again, this won't take over us yet
No.
on that, so don't freak out on there. Again, use it as a resource. Use it as a tool. I'm kind of using it to his point as far as like learning like coding, like simple things, just to see like what it can do, because that's something I've been kind of curious about. So if there's a certain item, I'll use it to help me kind of enhance my YouTube script with something, or if I'm trying to make an IG post, like
Or somebody was asking about how to put together your topics. I thought I heard that.
oh yeah.
So yeah, you could also probably, if you're gonna talk about food, what are food topics that if you get
put
stuck
that in there. Great.
in trying to figure out what topics. It was you asked them if they outlined their
Oh yeah,
topics or
create
something.
a bulleted list of.
So
food
yeah,
topics
outlining your topics is also really important to to start figuring out your content.
For
I tell
1 hour
people
show.
at least like your first 5 episodes, know exactly what you want to talk about. I think we made a list, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so just make a list of those first like top 5 things that you want to kick off with, and then you can even expand on each topic, right? So like on my TikTok, I talked about recently about how to charge for stuff. And from that, people ask me questions. And so from that video, I created other videos. So
Yes.
if it's one topic and you can expand off of it, that's always good for you, because then you'll get more information.
Yes, I put on here, make a bulleted list of food topics for a 1 hour show. Art of barbecue, explore
Yeah.
different barbecue techniques, farm to table. I didn't do this purposely because I'm hungry. It's just, I guess it happened to be like that. Culinary travel, taking a culinary journey around the world to discover unique flavors.
But then you can like dive deep into each one of
yeah,
those
so
things,
then you're like,
right?
oh, can expand on science of baking.
Right.
Can you give me the formulate construction of whatever, a cheesecake or whatever.
Yeah.
So really use it as a tool for like my DJ side of things. I'll actually put, because I'll play with a string quartet. So I'll have like a playlist of songs. And I was just curious. I'm like, hey, I have these set of songs. I'm playing it for a cocktail hour for about an hour and a half. How would you put this playlist of songs and why? And we weren't too far off, but it would give me reasons like, oh, I think this would work well because this generally everyone knows. Then we can deep dive into a newer track, then go away from that to this. So I can kind of use it to help me build kind of a playlist if I didn't think about it before, like that certain structure on there. But sometimes you're like, oh, that's whack. But it gives you an idea. You're like, oh, okay, maybe I can kick it off going here first and then work my way to that.
The great thing about Chat GPT, I mess it up.
It's okay.
Is that instead of racking your brain trying to figure out something, you just wake up in the morning, because I do it. My coworker has me addicted to it. I just wake up and I'm like, you know what should I do today? And it'll give me a whole list of crap to do to be healthy, eat healthy, or do
Yeah.
whatever. And I'm gonna be a new grandmother. I said, write
Congrats.
my grandson a book about his new brother coming, and it wrote me a whole book, and I put out there, Granny loves you, and put it in the mail.
There you go.
That's so good.
I need to write it because I'm a grandpa now too. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's really.
It's helpful.
so again,
It
this is it's a resource. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a resource, just like with all the other resources too. It's like
Yeah.
you're just learning what tools. Go back to the mechanic things, like what tools work
Yeah.
for what specific purpose.
Do
Yeah.
you see any advantage of the paid version because besides
I think it's I've used the free one. I would assume, has anyone used the paid version?
I use
in
the free
here?
one only.
I don't pay for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either. Like a lot of these tools, like except for like Canva and Zoom, those are the two that, because I use them so much for different
There you go.
things, I invest in them. But everything else that he's like shown, I've only done the free version of it.
I guess it's just different analysis that it comes up with. I'm just trying to see what everything else is on there.
For ChatGPT, the one thing right now that I found was the graphic creating, that I'll have to pay for it to get the graphic side going,
Yeah.
because you have to pay for that.
Gotcha.
You can't do it on the free side.
What's up?
So,
we
yeah.
got a full house in here. How you doing, man? Good.
So one last thing
Yeah.
that I had not thought about.
Yeah.
platforms that you're streaming your podcast on. So I started with Anchor,
Yeah.
and now that's podcasters through Spotify, and that's the only platform I've ever used. So what
So
other
for
ones
myself,
have you seen?
I kind of go multi-platform.
Okay.
So for my production tutorials, I'll use Restream.
Okay.
That one lets me stream to multiple. You don't have to.
Right.
It's just where I was seeing like the majority of my audience on YouTube, but then I saw another branch that was on Twitch. So it let me tie into both, and it gave me like a chat box that I can see all the messages all in one area. So
But that's live streaming through video,
Yes.
not just audio.
Not just audio
Okay.
on there, but you can. I mean, you can place
You can
it just
pull the audio?
Mhm. You
And-
can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 It's this program here. It's called Restream. So there's a couple companies that will offer this service. There's Restream. Now because we're talking about it, you're gonna get a bunch of IG stuff, so I'm sorry. You'll have Restream. Another one is called StreamYard. That's another one
Oh,
as well.
StreamYard, that's a good one.
StreamYard. Another one called Ecamm Live is another one as well. It basically has it like, but this one, I know StreamYard, you can do all the streaming on the browser itself. Like you don't need to have any extra tools. You can do everything on here. I think Desiree does. Yeah. So you can do that, or you can have it where you connect to OBS or Zoom. So like the program I'm using right here is called OBS.
But I don't think Desiree puts hers on Spotify.
Gotcha.
So she just
Yeah.
uses YouTube.
My main focus is YouTube. So like that one, it
Yeah.
kind of works better
Jaime,
for
for
me.
yours, what are you pulling the audio to? You're just uploading the audio onto Spotify?
Yeah,
Right,
so out
onto
of
the- okay.
So what we're using is a Final Cut Pro,
Okay.
and then from there I'll take that audio and I can split that off of the video, even though I didn't mess up the video.
Yeah.
And then I use that so that it send it straight into Spotify.
Spotify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do that
And
too.
that's
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the easiest
That's
one
the
right
easiest
now
way. You
for
just
me
kinda
is
pull from there.
Spotify. When it was Anchor, you could stream it to Google Podcasts,
Gotcha.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I forgot what else. But
Yeah. So for myself, when I do my like live streams, I'll use this program called OBS, which is free, and that's where I'm like adding the audio interfaces, the webcam, the little graphic at the bottom. I'm gonna make it a little bit prettier, but I'm recording it also, so I can take this and then I can edit it more if I wanted to, and then post it to my YouTube channel. Use like Capwing to cut it down to a vertical size. It's all about just taking your video or whatever you're using and trying to see if you can create more out of it.
yeah.
So I use these kind of together. So if I'm using this online one, the thing I don't like particularly if I just use their service to stream is I can't put certain graphics that I want and certain scene changes. But I like the fact that it'll take what I have streamed in here and put it on all the platforms that I want. And it has a chat window that I can talk to my viewers while I'm live streaming on there. You don't have to use something like, you can literally just have your YouTube channel and then just stream straight off of that. From there, you can just put your camera. Now they made it a lot easier, especially on the phones, to just record your live on your phone. It's just for me, for how I present and showcase the material, this is kind of like the workflow that works for me because I can just output videos really quickly. I'll use kind of this kind of tandem kind of thing.
Now, regarding the live, have you noticed that you've gotten more attention, followers,
I have.
subscribers through live than you did if you did
So for me, because I'm doing very like niche production tutorials, I'm having a particular group that are always asking me questions. They're like, hey, I'm using this software and I can't do this. So I'll literally put the phone number, I made a Google number, and I put it on the stream for them to call me and actually take the call while I'm streaming, because I use an equipment like this that I can take a phone call. So I'll have it where they call me and they're like, hey, I have this issue. And then live, like on the air, I'm solving their problem right then and there. So what I do is on my notepad, I'll write 45-minute mark, help person with support. And then I'll take that clip and I'll put it on my YouTube page. And then I'll go to the forum of that company and I'll put a video on there. So all I'm trying to do is trying to be the expert of that particular subject and have people come to me for that. So some people are like, oh, you work for them? I go, no, I just like using the product. but I want to help you out with this. So the better you are at being an expert at whatever the field is, people will start going to you as the person. So I ended up doing that. Definitely do a Google number. Last thing you want is someone just blowing up your phone.
So you
like
can just create a Google number.
yeah,
and
you can
then
create just a regular Google number.
Okay.
You just have to make sure that you actively make like one phone call every like 3 months on
Okay.
it. Yeah, because they'll
Use
take
that.
the number away, but they'll remind you like, hey, you haven't used your number in 3 months. You want to keep
So
it?
you can use your number on your phone and just. Okay.
They direct
Hmm?
the call to you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so sometimes if on a business card you don't want someone to have your personal,
number.
you can make a Google number and you can have it redirect where it calls your phone but under that number
Oh, wow.
on there just to keep your life private
Yeah.
with that. But I'm always thinking of ways of like how can I expand on this specific niche. So I'll go to forums, I'll see what people are asking because I have to keep in mind sometimes they're busy.
Yeah.
We already know the tech support 1 hour call. You're like, I got a life I gotta live. So if I can answer it right then and there, people are like, oh
Easier.
wow, I'm gonna go to him for stuff.
And then plus you're helping people, right? Because you're live
Yep.
streaming it, and so
Yep.
somebody else might have had that question, and you're helping everybody.
and
in
then they're
that
like,
group.
oh, what's your IG? And then I just build conversations from there, and then they'll start hitting me up, and then now I'm the go-to person for this.
It goes back to the engagement that he was talking about at the
Yeah,
beginning,
you
right?
have
Where
to
it's
engage with
like he
people.
goes back and comments and talks to everybody in
Correct,
his
correct,
comment
yeah.
section
Yep.
because of that same thing of you want to engage with
That's
your
when
audience.
later on you'll all of a sudden you'll get people like send you what's called like a YouTube sticker or a super chat on YouTube where like you're doing a live stream, all of a sudden you get $20 pop up, you know. And I kept all my clothes on. But it's where you're like people just because you've been helping people out, they're like, hey, if you got something going on, you got a new track that you're releasing. Like for myself, I just use that platform to just help me with if I'm trying to push a certain song out, or if I'm like, hey, if you know. So I started finding out that a lot of music that I would make, makeup artists would use it. Had no idea from there because I just put it up. That's where she was talking about like know your numbers, know your analytics. Once you start kind of building that, because like I know with like Spotify, I know we're kind of going on a tangent, but there's a Spotify for artists page that tells you like who listens to your stuff around the world. And my thing was like, oh yeah, I got youngsters, New York, all this. Not even like Europe, 25 to 35-year-old females. I'm like, okay, I guess that's my market. All right. And then I started finding because on certain music distribution ones, they'll have them on YouTube. And I started finding out people were using my stuff for like makeup tutorials.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, you know what? Let me expand on this and just make. So I literally would go to Pexels, type in girl doing makeup, and then just start putting my tracks. Like, hey, if you want to make, YouTube tutorials on doing makeup, I don't know shit about makeup, but here are some tracks that I think could work.
Nice.
And then I started building a relationship. Like, hey, what new music are you wanting for your YouTube videos? Like, oh, I want this kind of Afro beat, this kind of Latin thing. So again, it's engagement, trying to reach out to that. I would have never thought at all to even think about that if I didn't look at where my numbers were at with that and finding a new market for myself on that. So I put it on so if you're looking for music as well, I guess I'll kind of expand on that because sometimes, we don't have the budget to put a Beyonce track on our YouTube video. 'Cause you're going to get flagged like that. So there's a lot of sites. There's one called Epidemic Sound. There's quite a few where you can pay maybe $10 a month to just get music and add it to your site. So for myself, I'll log into this account real quick on here.
Did anybody have any other questions while he's logging?
Yeah.
I know we're like getting to the time.
Yeah, no, we're still good. Yeah. No, you're good. You're
No,
good.
you're fine. But he has the video, so you guys might be able to watch
Yeah,
it
we're gonna do an upload
Yeah.
on here too.
Oh, I see.
So let's see here.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
And so then just really quick, because then I'll forget, if you all want to have any other questions or anything
Yeah.
for me, if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm Soy Connie Leon, or whatever other platforms you might have. Connie Leon is usually how I pop up. So if you want to find me and you have other questions outside of here, we can definitely talk about that.
Yeah. So with here, it'll be where this will tell me, like I upload music to this platform for creators to use. So this kind of gives me like my kind of number sheet as far as how many creators have used my song, how many have used my music in their videos. And so what I end up doing is I'll go to, let's see here, top songs here. Oh, my bad. Put this on here. Normally it'll load, oh, there you go, on the bottom. So these people, and it'll just be for like random videos I had no idea, like someone making, steak or a week in my life. And to the whole money thing, after a while, you'll have something that's called Google AdSense, where it's basically, if you don't have YouTube Premium, that ad, or you're like, oh my God, I gotta watch this stupid ad, that gives me like 10 cents every time on it.
A golf one.
Yeah, a golf one. So what I'll end up doing is I'll go watch the video and to the point where I'm seeing how they're using my music. And I'll also like engage with them on the video. Like if I think the video is cool and I'm like, hey, I appreciate you using my music. Are you curious about other tracks that I have, and build that relationship from there? And so, yeah, I would have never thought they call these sync placements is what they call it on there. Hello thematic. So you can use it as a artist yourself, or you're a creator that's looking for music. So I started learning.
Is it free for the creators?
Yeah, it's
or
free.
They have to pay.
So if they're getting certain styles of songs, they have a certain platform on there. But when you start off, they have a lot of like music that you can use for free on there. Yeah, they'll have little kind of outliers as far as like, did you steal the song and you're just uploading it, or using specific samples of something. Some people control the system, so to speak. But for the most part, if you're making original stuff, you can upload to there. They'll decide if they think it'll work for their clientele, and then they'll post it up, and then they'll see who uses your stuff from there. I started making like keynotes of like, okay, to the makeup point, I'm like, okay, I see this trend. This particular kind of sound is kind of working. Let me kind of make more of this. And then if I see a trend kind of changing, I'll start trying to go that route if I want to. So there are a lot of different ways to try to use that. But I'll use my live stream and all that to then tie in to going into my other avenues of things. I know that was a tangent, but just to show you guys on the music side where you can do things with on there. So, yeah, questions? No, we had a lot. You don't need $1,000 camera. Just saying that. I'm trying to remind everybody. Too late. And if you did, use it. That's the key. Use $1,000 camera. I was using this thing forever, and I still have it. Still a trusty webcam. Yeah, don't play, man. If you gotta use it, hey. But if you can get a camera, like so, even like the Sony cams, you can get them for maybe about $400 now. You can use your iPhone. Just make sure your storage game's on point. Make sure your storage is good. If it's something where you're having that kind of deer in headlights moment, like, oh Lord, there's too much going on. Even here, I kind of do the heavy lifting, and you focus on your show. That's usually number one. Like, make sure your show's on point. So if that takes the stress away from you, do it. Use whatever tools help you. If it costs a little money, it's like, all right, I'm not gonna get Starbucks.
No, but sometimes it's worth it, right? Like for you to invest just a little bit in it, it'll go a long way. So. And
I would say give it like, I always kind of call it like a 90-day challenge. So start from day one, and then build your baseline to 90 days. Yep. If nothing changed those 90 days, then it didn't work, and you just switch it up. But people give up too soon. I wanted to look at that too. I'm like, damn, I only got 10 subscribers. That
is my base for everything is 3 months. Like you definitely want to give it that time frame because it takes that long for.
But then I started chipping away. And I'm like, okay, they started showing up more. Okay, a couple troll comments. All right, is what it is, and you just keep.
I've never had a bad comment by the way. I mean, like on Facebook, people will destroy me, but I don't care. And then now on TikTok, like sometimes it just depends. But
if it's a number that says like random 7498777,
but on my podcast, like I've never, and when I blogged, also I never had like bad comments on my stuff. So
another way too is if you have friends that do like podcasts, like just kind of be guests of their stuff.
Yeah.
Or finding like a niche
that
you're into, like the group I was filming yesterday. Hairstylists, but talked about a lot of different stuff, and they started getting different hairstylists from different places.
Yeah.
And they call it like, I guess the tea is the new thing now. So they would have that, but then they were really smart about trying to tie in certain things. So they have certain parts
other stuff outside of it.
And so it's like, again, to your personality, what you're into, like you'll naturally have a great dialogue if that's the case. Because I've seen it. If you're trying to force it, you'll know right then there it's the wrong thing to do, for sure, on there.
I don't have anything else, so.
You're good. A lot of info, right?
That's a lot.
How you guys feeling? Good? Questions? If
Y'all
some of
ready
you
to
want
start
to,
the podcast?
yeah, ready to record on there. If I still got some time, unless you got to roll. If you guys want to take 5 or whatever, by all means, you can.
Yeah.
I know want some air circulating in here. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can tell. I'll still be here if anyone had questions like
Yeah.
on the tech side of things, like how this works. Because essentially in this room, if you were to book it, you would get this piece of kit. You get the tripod, and basically you bring an SD card, hit the record button, and then you can have like an audio podcast ready to go.
For it,
Yeah.
do you teach people how to use it, or is it specifically like do you give classes on how to teach the equipment?
So this monthly workshop is kind of for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm actually trying to work on like simplistic videos. So they also have a little barcode scanner here that kind of gives them little lessons. But doing a simple like, hey, when you walk in, here it is. Put the card, hit
Right.
record, make sure the level's here, have fun, and
Right.
then take card out, go home. There's your show.
Right.
On there. But there's also the thing of like, oh, I don't want to do any of that.
Right.
I just want to be here and someone else running it. I'm like, perfect. I'm here. Just have your stuff ready.
You'll do the whole thing.
Then once you're good, hit record and then I give you the video by the
Yeah.
end. If you want to do video. Some just want to do audio. That's
Right.
it. In
Yeah.
here too. So you have a lot of different choices on there. I'm not 24/7. The building is.
Yeah.
But I'm not. So if you're trying to book something at 3 a.m., unless I'm free, maybe I'll do it. But for the most part, during the week, I'm pretty good. And like Sundays, usually that's when most people will do it just because their own work schedule as well.
Yep.
So yeah, if y'all want to take 5, get a drink of water, by all means. I'll still be here. So if you want to ask me like any other questions, like by all means, let me know.
Yep.
This was great.
Yes.
How'd y'all feel?
We learn a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
definitely learned a lot.
Yes, ma'am. I remember. I know.
I'm still Dixie.
It's okay. It's okay.
Good to see you.
Yes.
She was supposed to come tonight,
Okay.
but she set up my YouTube,
Uh-huh.
my Spotify,
Okay.
iHeart, TikTok.
Like the whole 9.